www.occupysanaantonio.com.
Welcome back to World Crisis Radio, our second hour. This is our Veterans Day, November 11th program. We're taping it here in the afternoon. Now we're interested, of course, in Occupy Wall Street and some signs that this is beginning to wind down in some places, but in other places it continues to go strong and, above all, to come up with programmatic ideas and positive, forward-looking things rather than the futile, anarchoid clash with the police and whatever it is. So in New York, we're told that there's a huge influx of panhandlers, homeless, that the level of political discussion has gone down to virtually nothing. You heard the report from Eric in New York City last week. This week, the reports are getting even more pessimistic, but a couple of places stand out. And we have San Antonio, Texas, where it started not at the same time and perhaps is taking a more positive tendency. So let's get a report on some other areas, not just New York, not just some other places we've heard about over the last couple of weeks. Let's try that one in San Antonio. We're joined by Joshua Green, who's a leading activist there. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Webster. It's good to be here.
All right. Now, you've done something very important. You've organized a successful teach-in. I think you got 20 or 30 people to come to an off-site gathering. Why don't you set the stage a little bit first? Tell us what Occupy San Antonio looks like, who's there, what's the dynamic, and then specifically, what were you able to do to provide some education and leadership in this, what otherwise might have been a vacuum?
Okay. Occupy San Antonio is located in Hemisphere Park, which is downtown San Antonio, next to the Tower of America, which many people might be familiar with. They are holding a 24-hour Occupy camp. I would estimate that there's anywhere between 10 and 20 people there at night, and then the attendance swells depending on the activities going on during the day. Obviously, the weekends are bigger, and Wednesdays there are some activities that draw in a larger crowd, too. Okay. And how does it work? Do they have this nonsense with the General Assembly, the facilitators, and so forth? Is it a continuous filibuster? Have they decided anything of substance, any program, any demands, any political education? Okay, so they do run a General Assembly. They say they have 2 meetings a day. It really turns out to be about 1 a day. They do have facilitators, but they seem to be more local people that are just interested in the idea of coming out and fighting for the cause. They just have been wrapped up in this General Assembly model and the group consensus model. I've been working with 2 committees, the Education Committee and the Outreach Committee, and I gravitated towards those because there seemed to be more serious people in those. I did the teach-in, and it really wasn't too hard to get it scheduled. There was a lot of support within the serious people of Occupy San Antonio, and we had about 30 people show up. There were students from several universities around San Antonio, plus I would call them the core membership of the Outreach and the Education Committees.
All right, so tell us what was the content of your teach-in?
Okay, so we covered 2 issues, the student loan amnesty, which has been covered quite a lot on your program, and we talked about the Texas education budget. And if I can just give your listeners a rundown on the state of education in Texas. In 2006, the legislature passed House Bill 1, and what this did was cap the property tax revenue that actually goes to the district at 2006 levels. So as property values rose, the districts received the same amount of money per student based on this law. And then, of course, we run into the financial crash and the federal stimulus, and the state did use federal stimulus money to supplement, or maybe a better word is supplant, the budget in Texas. But then this last school year, the stimulus ran out, and so the legislature had to come up with new funding, and the budget that they passed is $5 billion short of what it needed to be. Of course, I also, like you, I agree that people don't need to hear the problems; people need to hear the solutions. And so
I emphasized the 1% Wall Street sales tax. We talked about how it can slow down speculation and bring stability to the market, but that it also gives us the money and the answer to the question, how are you going to pay for all these things that you want to do?
Okay, and any reactions, any results? Do you have a next step that you're planning?
Yes, I consider the teach-in a success because obviously the first goal was to spread the idea of student loan amnesty, but I've also been talking with the members of Occupy San Antonio about giving the groups and the people that are actually going out and talking to the public tools to fight with. The phrase I use down there is that they're fishing without bait. And so I discussed at the end of the teach-in that by giving the student loan amnesty precedents in their efforts, they're giving, like Occupy UTSA, which is the University of Texas San Antonio, is forming a new group. They're giving them a tool to bring in students with, and not only to bring them in, but to keep them around. Also, I'm pushing the same ideas to other groups in other universities in San Antonio. And then, since we were talking about the education budget, there's a lot of interest in contacting teachers' organizations in Texas, but I've told the people that are interested in doing that in the state that they're in with the unorganization and the lack of a plan, these professional groups are not going to be interested in it. And so in the teach-in, I said the 1% sales tax is the thing that you can bring to the table. It's something that teachers haven't heard about, and it's a funding option that is new, and I think it can gain a lot of traction in that. We have some follow-up activities planned. The UTSA, Occupy UTSA group had been talking about participating in a student walkout on November 17th. I recommended in a meeting last night with them that they don't walk out because they're only going to have 10 or 15 people do it, but rather that they set up a booth and talk about the student loan amnesty issue, and then, of course, do the Wall Street sales tax as the solution. Some ideas for their booth, a debt thermometer, kind of like a fundraising thermometer, as they talk to students and find out how much debt each student has, they can fill in the thermometer. Also have a large sign or wall with the information on student loan debt, and then a identically large sign with information on the Wall Street sales tax. These ideas were well received by the group, and as far as I know, right now they're putting together all of that. A second follow-up idea for a second teach-in would be a teach-in on foreclosures, and with the idea that I would like them to demand a stop of all foreclosures in Bexar County. And, of course, in the teach-in, we'll give the statistics and the arguments why it's just morally right to stop the foreclosures. And then we've been floating around an idea of an action to go and occupy, with quotes, a home that is in foreclosure, not on a permanent basis, but while they're trying to evict the residents. And the goal is not to stop it. I don't think this group is ready to have any confrontation with the police, and I wouldn't recommend that. But we do want to make a media presence on the issue.
That makes some sense. And what you could do is go there and be a kind of a Greek chorus and get the media to show up and begin to highlight these evictions and foreclosures and make this scandal a front-page story instead of being buried, because the powerful propertied interests that control local newspapers and television stations don't want this to be trumpeted. But the fact is that Bank of America is on record. They have taken homes from people that never had a mortgage with them or missed one payment, and this is absolutely outrageous. Now, we were talking about Sherry Honkala's campaign on the show. She unfortunately didn't make it. She got about 7% of the vote, but that's in Philadelphia, where the Democratic machine turned out about 75% for their candidate. Sherry didn't do that bad compared to the Republican. The Republican got 19%, and he had money, and then Sherry got 7%. So that's quite respectable, 10,000 votes. Not bad, but those issues are on the table, so I think it's time to push them. But don't think that you're going to be able to stop armed cops from seizing a home, because you can't.
Right, and I don't think that's a productive strategy. The media in San
scare
Antonio,
off the people you have, because people see that it's suicidal and they won't go with it.
Right. The media in San Antonio has been favorable to us, but I think it's because there's not a lot of content coming out.
Okay, we're going to hang on for 1 second. We'll just have you identify how people can get in touch with you if they're in that area. We'll be back in just a minute here on World Crisis Radio.